My name is Willa Crane. I'm 24, a first-year elementary school teacher in South Bend, Indiana, and the night my brother tried to kill me started like any other bad night in that house, quiet, tense, and full of things nobody wanted to say out loud. It ended with a baseball bat slamming into the back of my neck. 1 second I was standing in the garage, rubbing sleep from my eyes and wondering why the lights were on at midnight. The next, there was a rush of air, a thick swoosh behind me, and then, impact. White hot pain exploded down my spine. My legs gave out. The concrete rushed up to meet me, my cheeks scraping against the cold floor. My vision blurred at the edges, going grainy like a bad TV signal. Behind me, I heard his voice. Should have just shared, Willa. Let's call him the prince. The golden boy. The one who can do no wrong. The rest of the world knew him as my little brother, Tate Crane. I tried to scream, but it came out as a wet, broken noise. My hands shook violently as I clawed for my phone, fingers numb, breath stuttering. I didn't have time to think, only react. I opened my messages and somehow typed with hands that felt like they belonged to someone else. He hit me. Call 911. My thumb hovered over send, and for one heartbeat I thought, I might actually survive this. Then the door from the house to the garage flew open. Light spilled across the cluttered garage. I blinked against it, tears and blood stinging my eyes. My mother's silhouette appeared first. Nova Crane. Perfect hair, perfect posture, perfectly cold eyes. My father stepped in behind her, Ulysses Crane, shoulders tense, jaw clenched like he was annoyed the way you get annoyed when someone forgot to take out the trash. Mom. I croaked. Dad. He. Oh, stop. Nova's voice sliced through me sharper than the bat had. She saw Tate standing there with the bat still in his hands, saw me on the floor, and laughed. Actually laughed. You're fine. He's just playing too rough. As usual. My father's lips twitched into something that was almost a smirk. Get up, Willa, he said. Don't be dramatic. We've got neighbors. You want them hearing you screaming like a lunatic? Tate stood off to the side, bat dangling, breathing hard. For a moment our eyes met. His were bright, too bright, with something that made my stomach twist, not fear, not guilt. Excitement. My phone was still in my hand, the screen glowing with my unsent SOS. Nova saw it, swooped down, and yanked it from my fingers. What's this? She muttered. Her eyes moved quickly over the words. He hit me. Call 911. Her mouth curled in disgust. God, Willa. You're really trying to ruin everything, aren't you? I tried to speak. My neck throbbed. I could feel something warm and sticky under my hairline. Ulysses leaned over me, his shadow swallowing my vision. Handle it fast, he told Tate quietly, like I wasn't even a person anymore. No traces. No traces. My own father said that while I lay on the ground, half conscious, after my brother smashed a bat into my spine. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't roughhousing. This was something else, something dark and planned and real. Somewhere under the pain, a single thought flared up, hot and clear. I have to survive this. I have to expose them. The edges of my vision went black. Their voices turned into muffled underwater echoes as I slipped under. Before I tell you how I got out of that garage, how I ended up in a courtroom staring my own family down, I need you to know something. This didn't start with a bat. It started with money, favoritism, and a dead grandmother who trusted the wrong people. The fight was just beginning. Stick around. Look, this is going to be a wild ride. Before we dive in, if you love stories about justice, standing your ground, and watching entitled people fall on their own swords, do me a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments if you've ever had to go no contact with a toxic family member. Okay. So it all started long before that night in the garage. I grew up in a house where love was something you earned by orbiting around one person, the prince. Tate. 19 years old. College freshman. Eternal victim. Eternal chosen one. If he crashed his car, it was boys will be boys. If I forgot to unload the dishwasher after a 10-hour day of teaching and lesson planning, it was Willa, get it together. My mom, Nova, liked to say she loved all her children equally. But the way her eyes softened whenever Tate walked in, the way her voice smoothed out like velvet when she said his name. Yeah. That lie never made it past age 10. My dad, Ulysses, was quieter, always tinkering with some online scheme on his laptop. He didn't gush over Tate the way Mom did, but he enabled him with his silence. Which, honestly, was sometimes worse. The only person who ever looked at me and saw me was my grandmother. Margaret Crane lived 15 minutes away in a snug little house not far from Notre Dame. When I was a teenager, I'd bike over there just to breathe. Her place smelled like old books and lemon furniture polish, and her backyard was a chaos of roses and herbs she pretended were organized when really they just grew wherever they wanted. "You've got my spirit, Willa," she'd tell me, handing me a mug of tea. "You're stubborn in all the right ways." Tate never came with me. If Grandma invited him, he'd roll his eyes. "I'm not hanging out with that old lady when I could be with my friends," he'd say, loud enough for her to hear if she'd been there. She always pretended it didn't sting. But I saw the way her hand would rest on my shoulder a little longer afterward, like I was holding up something she wanted to believe about our family. When she died 3 years ago, the house felt wrong without her. Too quiet. Too sharp. I stood in the front row at her funeral, eyes burning, while Nova dabbed her face with a tissue she didn't need and Tate played with his phone in the back pew. I thought that was the worst of it. I was wrong. The real nuclear bomb dropped later, in a beige conference room at the lawyer's office, when Grandma's will was read. Nova sat with her hands folded, trying to look composed. Ulysses, expression blank. Tate slouched in his chair like he owned the place. I sat at the end of the table in a thrift store blazer, trying not to fidget. The lawyer cleared his throat and read out the usual things, a little money here, some jewelry there. And then he said my name. "To my granddaughter, Willa Crane, I leave the remainder of my estate, in the amount of $800,000, to be received upon her 25th birthday." I thought I'd misheard him. $800,000? I felt Nova's gaze snap to me like a spotlight. Tate sat up straight for the first time all afternoon. The lawyer continued. "This amount is placed in trust and shall not be accessible until Willa's 25th birthday. In the event that she is convicted of a violent crime, such as assault, the trust shall instead pass to my daughter, Nova Crane." The room went very still. I didn't understand it then. All I heard was the number. $800,000. That was more money than anyone in my life had ever talked about seriously. Now I hear something else. In the event that she is convicted of a violent crime. That clause would become the entire motive for my family's plan. At the time, though, I was just shocked that Grandma had left me anything. Instead of being happy for me, Nova's mouth pinched. "She always did have a soft spot for you," she said coolly as we walked out. "I guess showing up to prune her roses pays off." "It wasn't about that," I muttered. She slipped on her sunglasses. "Well, just remember, that money could fix a lot of problems. For all of us." I should have paid more attention to the way she said all of us. Being a teacher doesn't pay well, especially not in your first year. I moved back in after college because rent was a joke I couldn't afford to laugh at. My classroom was my sanctuary, construction paper planets hanging from the ceiling, kids who actually listened when I spoke, little hands that shot up when I asked questions. Then I'd go home and turn invisible. If I stayed late grading, I'd walk through the door and see Nova lounging on the couch, Tate on his phone, Dad on his laptop. "Hi," I'd say. "Can you take out the trash?" would be Mom's response. Or, "The dishwasher's full," or "You missed dinner again, there are leftovers, I guess." If Tate sauntered in late, "Oh, you're home," she'd beam. "Long day, honey?" When Tate skipped classes, it was, "He's finding his path." If I dared suggest maybe he should take something seriously, I got, "Not everyone has to be boring like you, Willa." I tried not to care. I threw myself into my students instead. Into lesson plans. Into the tiny victories of a kid who finally understood fractions. But the will changed something. Not for me, really. My life didn't suddenly get easier. I couldn't touch the money until I was 25, and I was 22 when Grandma died. In my mind, it wasn't a pile of cash. It was a safety net way off in the future. A maybe. For my family, though? It was a countdown. I started hearing it in their voices. Tiny comments. Little barbs. That inheritance could fix the mortgage, Nova would muse over coffee. That inheritance could clear the credit cards. That inheritance could cover Tate's tuition at a better school. Always that inheritance, like it was a community pot. Never your inheritance. I overheard Nova and Ulysses arguing late one night, their voices bleeding through the thin drywall. We can't keep doing this, Nova hissed. The minimum payments are killing us. We'll figure it out, Ulysses muttered back. Once the trust hits, it won't matter. If, Nova snapped. If. Meanwhile, Tate's pranks escalated. He started accidentally breaking my stuff. My camera. My laptop. One evening he jokingly hid my car keys, and I missed a parent-teacher conference. Chill, Willa, he said, tossing them on the counter when I came home furious. You're so uptight. Nova overheard. Don't make a scene, she said sharply. He's under a lot of pressure. Pressure to do what? I demanded. Sit on the couch? Her eyes went cold. You think you're better than us now that your grandmother left you a little money? She asked. Newsflash, you're not the only one struggling. I never said I was, I murmured, but she'd already turned away. The message was clear, I was a resource. Not a daughter. Not an equal. A walking, talking payday with an expiration date. My parents' 25th anniversary party was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it was a crack in the facade that showed me just how far they were willing to go. The house was packed with neighbors, co-workers, distant cousins I barely remembered. Fairy lights tangled above the backyard. Music drifted softly through open windows. I came home from school hugging a thick folder to my chest, my carefully crafted lesson plans for the next unit. Science. The one my third graders were most excited about. I slipped the folder onto the kitchen counter, well away from the food and drinks. Don't leave your junk in here, Nova said, bustling by. We're hosting. I'm just putting it down, I said. I'll move it to my room in a second. She rolled her eyes and went back to arranging cheese on a platter like it was a competition sport. Tate arrived halfway through the party, fashionably late in a shirt he hadn't paid for and shoes that probably cost more than my monthly loan payment. He immediately became the center of a glowing little orbit, neighbors, a couple of college friends, Nova hovering nearby. Look at our boy, she cooed. So grown up. I stuck to the edge of things, chatting with a coworker who'd stopped by, forcing small talk, counting the minutes until I could go upstairs and rewrite a few activities I'd been thinking about adjusting. Finally, when there was a lull in conversation, I went back to the kitchen to grab my folder. It wasn't there. My heart skipped. I scanned the counters, the table, the sideboard. Nothing. Then I saw it, a familiar corner of blue cardstock peeking out from under a punch bowl. My stomach dropped. I pulled it free. The folder flopped open, spilling its guts all over the counter. Pages were crumpled and smeared. One worksheet had a sticky red punch stain across the middle. Another had greasy fingerprints. My hand-drawn diagrams, identifying parts of a plant, were torn. Weeks of work. Gone. I knew, before I even turned, who had done it. Tate was in the dining room holding court, telling some story about campus life to a rapt circle of relatives. I walked up, clutching the destroyed pages. Did you touch my folder? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. He glanced at the mess in my hands, then at me. His eyes flicked down, then up, full of lazy amusement. Maybe it fell, he said, popping a cookie into his mouth. It didn't fall under a punch bowl, I snapped. Did you move it? God, Willa, relax, he laughed, loud enough for people to turn. It's just paper. Isn't that your whole thing? You can make more. He crawled up my neck. A couple of guests were watching with sympathetic frowns. Others looked away, uncomfortable. I gathered the pages together and went to find Nova. She stood near the drinks table, refilling cups. Tate ruined my lesson plans, I said, holding them up. They're destroyed. I spent weeks on these. She gave them a quick glance. We're in the middle of a party, she said sharply. Don't start drama. I'm not starting drama, I insisted. I'm telling you make new ones, she cut in. You're good at that. You're a teacher. Use your imagination. It's not that simple. Maybe if you weren't so focused on yourself all the time, you'd see we're all struggling, she added, voice low and pointed. That money your grandmother left could help a lot, you know. There it was. No pretense. No sugarcoating. Just raw resentment. She left it to me, I said, stunned at my own courage. She wanted me to have a safety net. And what about us? Nova hissed. What about your brother? She always favored you. It's not fair to the rest of us, Willa. You don't need that kind of money. We do. For a second, the room blurred. Not from tears, from fury. Ulysses appeared then, drawn by the tension like a shark smelling blood. What's going on? He asked. Tate destroyed my lesson plans, I said, voice shaking. And Mom is acting like it's my fault. He sighed and looked at Nova, then at me. Kids make mistakes, he said. Let it go. I'm not a kid, I protested. I work. Don't make everything a federal case, he snapped quietly. Not tonight. Over his shoulder, I saw Tate watching us. His mouth curled into a smug little smile. You're too sensitive, he called out. Always playing the victim, Willa. A few people chuckled uneasily. The humiliation burned hotter than the anger now. I backed away, clutching the ruined pages against my chest like armor. I went to my room and shut the door, the party noise muffled through the walls. I stared at the mess of worksheets and felt something inside me crack. Later that night, as I went downstairs for a glass of water, I heard Tate's voice in the hall, low and bitter, talking to a cousin. She thinks she's better than us, he said. Because she babysat Grandma and got the cash. That money should be ours. Ours. Not hers. Not mine. That's when I realized I wasn't a daughter or sister to them anymore. I was an obstacle. Fast forward a few hours. The party had ended. The house was dark and quiet. I'd fallen asleep grading essays, red pen still in my hand. I don't know what woke me. A sound? A shift in the air? Just instinct? I checked the clock, 11:58 p.m. and padded downstairs for a glass of water. The kitchen was empty, but the light under the door to the garage was on. Mom hated when lights were left on. It was one of her top 3 lectures. I frowned, set my glass down, and opened the door. The garage smelled like oil and dust and old cardboard. The overhead light flickered slightly. Boxes lined the walls. The car sat silent. I took one step inside. Hello? I called. No answer. I started to turn back. That's when something heavy slammed into the back of my neck. The world tilted. My knees buckled. Pain shot down my spine and exploded behind my eyes. The floor rushed up. I heard a shout, maybe me, and then a breathless, shaky exhale that wasn't mine. Finally, a voice muttered. Tate's voice. Finally, you shut up. I lay there, my face pressed against the concrete, cold biting into my cheek. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Panic clawed at my throat. He stepped into my field of vision then, boot coming into focus, then his leg, then his face. Tatty hair falling into his eyes, chest rising and falling like he'd just finished a workout. The bat hung loosely from his hand. Why? I whispered. It came out warped, like the word had to push through gravel. Why? He laughed under his breath. Because you don't deserve what she gave you. Because you're selfish. Because you were never supposed to be the special one, Willa. That was supposed to be me. My fingers twitched uselessly against the floor. My phone was half under my chest, screen pressing into my ribs. I forced my hand downward, rolling just enough to slip it free. He didn't notice. He was too busy pacing, muttering, hyping himself up. She doesn't need it, he whispered, like he was rehearsing. She's unstable. She snapped. My thumb fumbled across the screen. I opened messages by muscle memory. My best friend Quinn's name hovered near the top. I typed with the pads of my fingers, every move sending a spike of pain through my neck. He hit me. Call 911. I hit send. The little sent checkmark popped up. Relief flooded me, thin and weak, but real. That's when the door banged open. Light. My parents' silhouettes. Their voices. You know the rest. When I woke up again, the party was long over. The world was a blurred smear of gray and pain. The floor beneath me was different, colder, rougher. My neck screamed when I tried to move. It felt like my head was balanced on a handful of broken glass. I blinked, forcing my eyes to focus. Concrete walls. Shelves full of boxes. Rusted tools. A lawnmower. The garage. But different. The big door was shut tight. The small side door had a bolt across it, from the outside. I was locked in. For a moment, I just lay there, breathing shallowly, shaking from the effort of staying awake. Then the night came rushing back. The anniversary party. The ruined lesson plans. The bat. Date. My chest clenched. I heard muffled voices coming from the house, through the thin wall between the kitchen and the garage. I dragged myself closer to it, biting back a cry as pain flared in my neck and shoulders. Nova's voice drifted through, sharp and tense. "We have 1 year," she hissed. 1. If she hits 25, that money is gone. Ulysses replied, his tone low and flat. "I told you. I'll edit the footage. We say she attacked him. The clause transfers it to you. Clean. Legal." My blood ran cold. "People know she's fragile," Nova said. "She overreacts. She gets dramatic. We can use that." Tate says he defended himself. We show the video. Case closed. "She won't have a choice," Ulysses said. "No one will believe her over video and texts. Not when we're all saying the same thing." Silence. Then Tate's voice, petulant. "Just make sure they know it wasn't my idea," he muttered. "I'm the victim here." I pressed my forehead against the rough wall, my breath coming faster. They were going to frame me. They were going to edit the security footage to make it look like I had attacked Tate with the bat. Then they were going to use Grandma's will, the violent crime clause, to take the $800,000 meant for me. They weren't just covering up what he'd done. They planned this. All of the little things suddenly made sense. The way Nova talked about that inheritance like it belonged to everyone. The way Tate's pranks had become more and more aggressive. The way Ulysses was always on his laptop, always tinkering with something. They had been building a narrative. I wasn't their daughter. I was a problem to be solved. Something inside me snapped back into place then, not my neck, that was still a mess, but my brain. My fear solidified into something sharper. If they wanted to turn me into a criminal, I needed proof. Real proof. Not just my word against theirs. I forced myself to sit up. My head swam. I swallowed bile. The garage swayed, then steadied. I scanned the space, desperate. Boxes. Shelves. Old junk. An ancient lawn chair. Tools. And, half buried under a stack of dusty board games on a high shelf, an old black laptop. Hope flickered. I crawled toward the shelf, teeth gritted, every movement shooting fire down my spine. I grabbed the edge of the metal rack and hauled myself up just enough to hook the laptop with my fingers and drag it down. It hit the floor with a dull thunk. For a second, I thought I'd broken it, and terror clawed at my throat. Then I flipped it open. The screen glowed faintly. The battery icon pulsed red, but it was alive. "Come on," I whispered. "Come on, come on, come on." The desktop loaded slowly, like it was waking from a long sleep. I saw icons I recognized, the logo for the security system my dad had bragged about installing, an old email client. If this was still logged into the cameras, there was a chance they hadn't gotten to it yet. Maybe they'd assumed nobody remembered it existed. I clicked the security program. A login page flashed, then auto-filled with saved credentials. Ulysses had never been big on cybersecurity. A live feed popped up. Empty rooms. The driveway. A dark hallway. My hands shook as I navigated to the recorded archive, scrolling back to the previous night. My heart hammered. 11:59 p.m. 12 a.m. There it was. The garage feed. I pressed play. The screen showed exactly what I remembered, me, stepping through the door from the kitchen, rubbing my eyes. The empty garage. Me calling out. Then, from the left side of the frame, Tate stepping into view with the bat in his hands. Watching it happen to myself was worse than reliving it. I watched his grip tighten. I watched him raise the bat. I watched my own body jerk when it connected, my head snapping forward, my legs giving out. I watched myself crumple to the floor. I heard my own broken sound echo faintly from the tiny laptop speakers. Seconds later, the door opened. Nova and Ulysses rushed in. They saw me on the floor, saw the bat in Tate's hand. "Move her now," Nova said, her voice icy, no hesitation. "We'll say she slipped. Clean this up." Ulysses nodded. "Keep it quiet." The video ended a minute later, after they dragged my limp body out of frame. I sat back, trembling. Tears blurred the screen. They hadn't deleted it yet. They probably thought the only computer that mattered was the one inside. The old one out here? Just junk. It was my lifeline. If you were sitting where I was, alone, injured, locked in a garage, holding a laptop that contained the one thing that could save you, what would you do next? Would you run, or would you go straight to the police and risk them believing your parents' edited version first? Let me know how you think you'd handle it, because in that moment, it felt like every choice could kill me. I scrambled through the clutter until I found a dusty little box of cables and, miracle of miracles, a couple of USB drives. One was empty. I plugged it in, copied the raw video file, then opened the email client. It was still signed into an old account under my dad's name. My inbox showed a message from years back. From Thomas and Brinkman Legal. Subject: Margaret Crane, Final Will and Testament, copy. My heart jumped. I opened the email. Attached was a PDF, Grandma's will. The whole thing, including the section about my inheritance and that infamous clause. I downloaded it and dragged it onto the USB next to the video. In my lap, that tiny silver rectangle suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. Proof that Tate attacked me. Proof that my parents covered it up. Proof of their motive, $800,000 that would go to Nova if I was convicted of a violent crime. A perfect little package. I closed the laptop, slipped the USB into the inside pocket of my jacket, and looked at the garage door. The side door was bolted from the outside. The main door had rusted hinges at the bottom. There was a workbench along one wall, scattered with tools. Among them, a rusted screwdriver. I grabbed it and crawled to the big door. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I wedged the screwdriver under the hinge pin and pried. It resisted. I grunted, sweat beading on my forehead, neck screaming. The metal finally shifted with a creak. The pin slid halfway out. I went for the next one. And the next. Finally, there was just enough give for me to shove the bottom of the door outward. A thin line of dawn light sliced in, cool air flooding the garage. I squeezed my battered body through the gap, jacket snagging, dust smearing my face. For a wild second I thought I'd get stuck and they'd find me half in, half out. Then I spilled onto the driveway, gulping the morning air like water. The street was quiet, pale blue with early light. My parents' house loomed behind me, blinds still drawn. The miller's house across the street had a kitchen light on. I pushed myself to my feet, swaying, and limped toward it. Mrs. Miller opened the door in a bathrobe, and her eyes went wide. "Willa?" she gasped. "Oh my God, what happened to you?" I must have looked worse than I realized. My neck was bruised and swelling, hair matted, clothes rumpled. I tried to answer and my voice cracked. "I need to call 911, I managed. Please." She didn't ask any more questions. She pulled me inside, sat me down at the round kitchen table with sunflowers on the placemats, and put her phone in my hand. My fingers were clumsy, but I got the numbers dialed. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Willa Crane, I said. Hearing myself say it made everything feel suddenly too real. My brother hit me with a bat. My parents locked me in our garage. They're trying to frame me to steal my inheritance. I have proof. The dispatcher's voice didn't change, but something in the background shifted. Are you safe right now? I'm at my neighbor's house, I said. Across the street. I got out. I have video. And my grandmother's will. Officers are on their way, she said. Stay where you are. After I hung up, Mrs. Miller hovered, hands fluttering. Do you want some water? She asked. Ice? A blanket? I shook my head and then regretted it instantly as pain shot through my skull. I just need to stay awake, I said. Within minutes, I heard sirens. 2 officers came in, a tall man with tired eyes, Daniels, and a shorter woman with a firm jawline, Lee. They took one look at my neck and exchanged a glance. Ms. Crane? Officer Lee said. Can you tell us what happened? I repeated it all. The party. The ruined lesson plans. The attack. The garage. The overheard conversation. The will. The USB. Those are some serious accusations, Daniels said carefully. Do you have any evidence? I pulled the USB from my pocket like a magician revealing the final card. Right here, I said. As I handed it over, my phone buzzed in my jacket. I'd snatched it from the table when I escaped without even realizing. I pulled it out and looked at the screen. A text from an unknown number. "You attacked 8. We have proof. Turn yourself in." Attached was a video clip. My hands shook as I opened it. The footage showed me, the back of my head, at least, holding a bat, swinging at someone, and that someone falling. There was no clear view of Tate hitting first. No context. Just me, weapon raised, looking unhinged. It was choppy, too. The edges blurred in places. A bad edit job, if you knew what to look for. My stomach twisted. "They already edited it," I whispered. "They already made a fake version." Officer Daniels watched over my shoulder. His brow furrowed. "Where did this come from?" he asked. I showed him the number. "Probably my dad," I said. "Or my mom. Or Tate. I don't know." "Miss Crane," Lee said, plugging the USB into a small tablet she'd brought, "we're going to need to verify all of this. But if what's on here is what you say it is, it's big." The tablet screen lit up with the video I'd watched in the garage. The one that made my stomach lurch but also made me want to cheer. They watched as Tate raised the bat. As he brought it down. As my body fell. As my parents rushed in and started damage control. Lee's jaw clenched. "This doesn't match that text video," she said quietly. Daniels nodded slowly. "We're going to need a digital forensic team on this," he said. "And we're going to need statements. From everyone." He looked back at me. "Do you have somewhere safe you can stay?" I swallowed. "My Aunt Lana. She's in Chicago. She's a lawyer." "Call her," Lee said. "And don't go back into that house alone." I nodded, fingers already dialing. Lana answered on the second ring. "Willa?" Her voice was rough with sleep and worry. "I got your SOS last night. I've been trying to call you. What's going on?" "They tried to kill me," I said. Saying the words out loud made my knees buckle. I sat back down at Mrs. Miller's table. "They're trying to frame me to take Grandma's money. I have the video. I gave it to the police." "Good," she said instantly, no hesitation. "Good girl. I knew something was wrong when Nova called me last week fishing around about the will. Listen to me, do not talk to them without a lawyer present. I'm driving down. I'll be there in a few hours." For the first time since the bat hit my neck, I felt something like real safety. Someone believed me. Someone who knew how to fight. Everything after that blurred into a montage of hospital lights, MRI scans, police interviews, quiet conversations in small rooms. My neck wasn't broken, miraculously. Just badly bruised, muscles torn, nerves inflamed. I'd be in pain for weeks, maybe months, but I'd live. The digital forensics team pulled the original footage off the security system directly, confirming it matched what was on my USB. They also analyzed the fake video and traced the edits back to my father's computer. The threatening texts? The ones from me to Tate, promising violence? Those were sent from a burner phone bought with a credit card in Ulysses' name. It was almost laughable how sloppy they'd been. They'd been so sure nobody would ever look that closely. Meanwhile, my parents spun their own story. They told anyone who would listen that I'd snapped. That I'd been off for years. That Tate had only defended himself when I came at him with a bat, and that they'd panicked after, afraid the police wouldn't believe them because of Grandma's will. They tried to control the narrative before it ever reached a courtroom. The thing is, when you've spent your whole life being the quiet, reliable one, the girl who shows up early and stays late and volunteers for extra duties, people notice when someone tries to paint you as a monster. Not everyone, though. Some people believed them. Or wanted to. One of the worst days came a few weeks later, in the principal's office at the elementary school where I taught. "Willa," Principal Andrews said, steepling his fingers, "you know we care about you here." I sat on the other side of his desk, neck brace itchy, hands clenched in my lap. "I know," I said quietly. "There have been questions," he said. "Some parents have seen things online. Posts from your mother. Comments about your mental health. About violence." I knew what he was referring to before he even said it. Nova had discovered social media like a kid discovers matches. She lit fires everywhere. Facebook posts. Neighborhood groups. Long paragraphs about how her daughter had invented an assault story to punish her brother, about how I'd always had issues, about how I was weaponizing my grandmother's will. "She's lying," I said, forcing myself to look him in the eye. "We have video. The police have evidence. My aunt is representing me." "I believe you," he said, sounding like he meant it. "But the district? They're worried. Until this is resolved, they want to put you on leave." "Leave?" My heart sank. "But I haven't done anything. My kids." "It's not punitive," he cut in quickly. "It's just optics. You understand." I did understand. It just didn't make it hurt any less. I walked out with a folder of paperwork and a hollow ache in my chest. Nova's lies were already taking my job from me, one email at a time. Later, in a corner booth at a diner off the highway, I told Lana everything. "She's trying to destroy your credibility before we get to court," Lana said, stirring her coffee hard enough to make it slosh. "Classic move. We'll sue for defamation, but that's a long game." "I don't care about the Facebook posts," I said. "I care that I almost died and they're still walking around like nothing happened." Lana leaned forward, eyes sharp. "That part," she said, "is very temporary." The day of the hearing was gray and cold. St. Joseph County Court smelled like old paper and cleaning fluid. I stood at the witness stand, right hand raised, USB in my pocket like a talisman. Lana sat at the defense table, spine straight, expression calm but fierce. The prosecutor called me Ms. Carter. Sharp eyes, even sharper questions. "Ms. Crane," she said, "in your own words, what happened the night of April 17th? So I told them. I told them about the party. The ruined lesson plans. Nova's comments about the inheritance. Tate's bitter words in the hallway. I told them about the bat. About the garage. About waking up on cold concrete with my neck on fire and my parents laughing it off as a joke. I told them about overhearing the plan. The clause in the will that said if I was convicted of a violent crime, the money would go to Nova instead. I told them about the laptop. The video. The USB. The edited clip and the fake texts. I watched the jury's faces as I spoke. Some frowned. Some looked angry. One older woman shook her head slowly, like she'd seen this kind of thing before. Lana queued up the video from the USB on a screen at the front of the room. "Your Honor," she said, "this is the unedited security footage from the Crane family home, taken at 12:01 a.m. on April 18th. Digital forensics has verified its authenticity." The judge nodded. "Proceed." The lights dimmed slightly. The video played. I forced myself to watch. There I was again, stepping into the garage. There he was, the prince, raising the bat. There I was falling, my body hitting the floor with sickening finality. Then Nova and Ulysses rushed in, not to comfort or help, but to strategize. "Move her now. Keep it quiet." You could have heard a pin drop in that courtroom. Lana paused the video. "Now compare this," she said, "to the version submitted by the prosecution, which they received anonymously from an email traced back to a device in the Crane home." She played the fake clip. In it, the timestamps jumped. The angle shifted. There were missing frames. Now it looked like I was the one swinging first, my movements jerky and contextless. "The state's expert has already acknowledged clear signs of tampering," Lana said. "Frame drops. Splices. Sound inconsistencies. All consistent with amateur editing using basic software. The original footage, on the other hand, is continuous, with intact metadata." She might as well have been speaking Greek to some of the jury, but they understood enough. One video told a story. The other told a lie. We submitted Grandma's will as an exhibit. The clause about the violent crime glared from the page like a neon sign. "If Ms. Crane is convicted of a violent crime," Lana read aloud, "the entire $800,000 shall pass to my daughter, Nova Crane." "Your Honor," she continued, turning to the judge, "this means that if Willa had been successfully framed for assaulting her brother, the immediate and direct beneficiary would have been her mother. That is motive. Combined with the doctored footage and fabricated texts traced to devices belonging to Nova and Ulysses Crane, that is conspiracy." The prosecutor tried to poke holes. She suggested maybe the attack was mutual. Maybe I'd provoked it. Maybe the money made me unstable. Maybe I'd somehow edited the raw footage myself to frame my family. But the more she talked, the thinner her arguments sounded. Officer Daniels testified about finding me at the Millers, bruised and shaking, with a coherent account that matched the unedited video before anyone had even mentioned the existence of a fake one. Officer Lee testified about tracing the burner phone and edited file back to Ulysses' laptop. A digital forensic expert explained the differences between original and altered files. Mrs. Miller described the look on my face when she opened the door that morning. "That girl was terrified," she said, voice trembling. "You can't fake that." When it was over, the judge leaned back, eyes heavy. "Based on the evidence presented," she said slowly, "this court finds probable cause to charge Nova Crane, Ulysses Crane, and Tate Crane with aggravated assault, attempted fraud, and conspiracy to commit fraud." Officers moved forward. Handcuffs glinted. Nova's face twisted into something ugly, all the social media polish ripped away. "You ungrateful little," she started, but the rest was lost as they turned her toward the door. Ulysses didn't say anything. He just stared at me, shock and something like hatred simmering beneath. Tate jerked his arms, resisted for half a second, then slumped. He shot me a look that said everything. "This isn't over." But it was. At least that part. Lana squeezed my shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "You're free." I'd love to tell you that was the end. That the arrests wrapped things up in a neat little bow and we all went our separate ways. But narcissists don't go quietly. Out on bail, Nova discovered a new weapon, the internet. She took to Facebook, Instagram, community forums, anywhere she could find an audience, and started spinning her story. "Pray for our family," one post read, over a stock photo of clasped hands. "Our daughter, Willa, is struggling with severe mental health issues and has made terrible accusations against us to steal her grandmother's inheritance. We love her, but we can't let her lies destroy our son's future." Another, "Some of you know what it's like to have a child who fabricates abuse. We're heartbroken." She never outright said I was dangerous. She didn't have to. She implied it in every carefully curated paragraph. People ate it up. Old neighbors commented things like, "You've always been such good parents, Nova. So sorry you're going through this." Distant relatives chimed in from 3 states away with sending prayers. Some people messaged me directly. "Is it true? Did you really attack Tate? Your mom seems so hurt." It was like being slapped over and over again by 1,000 strangers. Lana filed the defamation suit, but that would take time. In the meantime, the school district saw the posts. Parents did, too. It didn't matter that there was a pending criminal case where I was the victim. All they saw were words like unstable, violent, lies. The suspension at my school turned into a prolonged investigation. My income dried up. My savings started to shrink. I sat in my small bedroom in the house I'd grown up in. No, not that house. I'd moved into a studio apartment by then, thanks to Lana's insistence, and stared at my phone, watching the social media wildfire rage. I had the option to fight back publicly, to post my own receipts, to share the video, to tell the whole world what they'd done. But every time I hovered over the post button, a little voice in my head whispered, "You don't win a mud fight by rolling in deeper." Instead, I filmed one video. Not for the public, for my people. For family friends, a few former teachers, the handful of relatives who still seemed unsure. I sat in front of a neutral wall, hair pulled back, bruises fading but still visible. "My name is Willa Crane," I said. "Some of you have seen posts from my mother about me. I want to explain my side, once, clearly." I laid it out. Calm. Detailed. No slander. Just facts. I talked about Grandma's will. About the claws. About the bat. About the video. About the criminal charges. "I'm not asking you to pick sides," I said at the end. "I'm asking you to look at evidence instead of emotion. I'm getting help. I'm healing. I'm telling the truth. That's all." I sent the video to Lana. She forwarded it to the people who mattered. Quietly. Surgically. Slowly, like a tide reversing, the tone of the whispers around town began to change. People who blindly believed Nova started asking questions. A couple of relatives unfriended her. One neighbor commented, "This is more complicated than you were making it sound, Nova." At the same time, the criminal case moved forward. The defamation suit too. The walls were closing in. My parents and Tate had set this entire thing in motion because they wanted to steal my inheritance. It was the same greed, The same entitlement that got them arrested, got them sued, got them shunned. They weren't victims of my lies. They were victims of their own choices. Karmic justice doesn't always look like a movie climax with swelling music. Sometimes it looks like foreclosure notices and court dates and lost friends. Sometimes it looks like the exact trap you set for someone else snapping shut around you. A year after the attack, I turned 25. The trust matured. Despite everything that had happened, Grandma's money was still there. The judge overseeing the estate had ruled that the clause about violent crime didn't apply, because I had never been charged, let alone convicted, of anything. Nova's worst nightmare had come true. Not only did they fail to steal the money, their attempt had been exposed. I moved. Not to Chicago, where Lana lived. I wanted some distance even from all the memories of courts and hospital rooms, but to Indianapolis, a few hours down the road and a world away. I got a job teaching at a public high school. New students, new staff, new principal who only knew me as Miss Crane, the history teacher with the detailed lesson plans and too many sticky notes. I rented a modest one-bedroom near the school. Bought mismatched furniture off Facebook Marketplace. Started a little library of second-hand books. I lived like someone who didn't have $800,000 sitting in an account with her name on it, because Grandma didn't leave it to me so I could flex. She left it so I could breathe. So I used part of it to set up the Margaret Crane Scholarship Fund. Every year, a handful of seniors passionate about history or education would get help with tuition. At the launch event, standing at a podium in the school gym, I looked out at the small crowd, students fidgeting in their seats, teachers clapping, a few local reporters, and felt this strange combination of grief and gratitude. My grandmother believed in ordinary people doing the right thing, I told them. She believed in hard work, in loyalty, in showing up. When she left me this money, she wanted me to use it for something bigger than myself. So that's what I'm trying to do. Afterward, one of the scholarship recipients, a girl with paint on her hands and nervous eyes, came up to me. "Thank you," she said. "Nobody in my family's ever gone to college." I smiled. "You're going to change that," I said. Later that night, I sat on my balcony, looking out over the city lights, and thought about the last year. About a bat in a garage. About a laptop in a pile of junk. About a USB drive that could fit in my palm and held my whole life on it. About my parents, now serving sentences for what they'd done. About Tate, the prince, whose kingdom had shrunk to a cell. About Nova, whose Facebook page had gone nearly quiet after the defamation ruling forced her to publicly retract her lies. About Ulysses, whose schemes had finally caught up with him. And about Grandma Margaret, who'd tried to protect her legacy with a clause about character, never imagining her daughter would weaponize it. "Truth is your compass," I told my students once, in a lesson about revolutions. Even when people try to spin it, even when they distort it, if you keep following the real thing, you'll eventually find your way out. I didn't know I was talking about myself until the words were already out. So, to anyone listening who's ever felt like the designated stable one, the family ATM, the person everyone leans on and no one protects, this part is for you. Guard what you've earned. Guard your name, your money, your sanity. Being family is not a free pass for people to steal from you, hit you, or lie about you. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to go to the police. You are allowed to keep receipts. You are allowed to walk away and start over in a new city where nobody knows your last name. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. My family swung a bat at me, literally and figuratively. They tried to rewrite reality. In the end, the only thing that saved me was that I trusted myself more than I feared their anger. So if you're sitting there, watching this, feeling that knot in your stomach because this sounds a little too familiar, listen to it. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? Would you have stayed and tried to fix them? Or would you have done what I finally did, picked up the truth, held it tight, and walked into a life where they no longer have any power over you? Either way, thank you for staying with me through this whole story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one, because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that there are a lot more of us out here choosing peace over blood than you think. And if you need someone to say it out loud, you are not crazy. You are not the bad guy. And you are allowed to be free.